Hello everyone and welcome to Quality Old Games. Today we are having 5 tips and cheese for battles in Rome Total War. And the first one is bridge battles. So if you have a possibility to make a defensive battle near a bridge, you should most definitely utilize that. And what you should do is to put your heaviest troops to the end of the bridge, and as you can see here, the Gauls are trying to cross over. And armor hoplites are ideal for this kind of defensive battle. Of course, if you are playing, for example, with Romans, you can use Principes, Legionaries, Hastati even, and so on. But the heaviest troops should be on the front, because they will keep the enemies best at bay. And they won't break as fast. And as you can see, the first enemy unit is breaking already. So this is really effective here. And of course, you should support your infantry with your missile weapons. And it's especially important to put your missile units on the left side of the bridge from your perspective. And that's because the enemies have their shields on their left side. So basically here you can see that you are hitting the enemies on their unshielded flank, and thus your missiles will have greater impact. And so the battle will progress more smoothly for you. And of course in every other battles as well, the shield is on the left side, and thus it's easier to win the battle if you can hit the unshielded side of the enemy with your missile weapons. Another good thing in bridge battles is that when enemy units start to panic, the panic tends to spread rather fast among the enemy units. So as you can see, there are now 3 enemy units fleeing, now 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on, and soon the whole enemy army is fleeing from the battle, excepting those that are behind. But likely they will break soon as well when they take some casualties here. You can see they are wavering already. So it shouldn't be too long until they break as well. And there is a victory. And the bridge battle shouldn't end in that kind of victory. So if you have any cavalry units available, you should try to pursue the enemies as much as possible, because they are clumped up and you can cause huge casualties with cavalry charge here. And of course in some cases the enemies are actually fleeing towards you, so your infantry on your side of the bridge can get very many easy kills, and it's not uncommon to wipe out the whole enemy army containing maybe 2,000 or 3,000 men at best. And as you can see, the cavalry here is causing tremendous casualties to the enemies. So, let's see what's the result here. A heroic victory. The number of casualties sustained is very minimal, and as you can see, the general inflicted over 1,000 casualties to the enemy. So that's really good way to strike down the enemy main strength if they are foolhardy enough to try to engage you in a bridge. And the second tip, or actually cheese, is utilizing city center in defensive battles. So here we have 6 famous, or rather maybe infamous, units of Eastern infantry that usually break when one watches them in 2 stern away. But in the city center they are unbreakable, and also all other units are unbreakable in the city center. So let's see, when the Carthaginian army gets close to us, the first benefit of being in the city center is that usually the AI spreads its strength to different streets. So here you can see at least, okay, the majority of the army is coming this way. Some units are choosing this road, which will be quite a detour, and some units are even heading that way. So basically you need to concentrate on only a small section, or rather smaller section of the enemy army at a time when you are defending the city center than otherwise would be the case. An additional benefit here is that the enemy force needs to march a longer way, and at least in some cases it means that their units are more tired when they get to the city center, and that means that they will break a bit faster. Sorry about the cough. And that once again will be very beneficial for you. So the Eastern infantries are taking heavy damage. This unit is favoring, and I think it would have broken already if we were fighting in other places than in the city square. And as you can see, the enemy units are breaking already. So now we can focus on these units that have not yet broken, but since other units are already breaking, they will be breaking faster as well. And of course, now that there is the enemy general, we might have some troubles here. And the enemy elite units are here as well, namely those pointy infantry, not the Libyan spearmen. They are shaken already. But here the greater number of Eastern infantry should prevail. And as you can okay, that's Iberian infantry still. But as you can see, the enemy general is going down. These guys are steady or eager. And as the enemy general went down, I think the bodyguard will break soon. And I think that will also mean that the Libyan spearmen and those Spanish mercenaries will break soon as well. And there. And even if the enemy units here manage to run away and regroup, they will be exhausted when they get back to the city center. And once again, that will mean that we can take them out quite easily. And these are the pointy infantry that took the long route to get here, and as you can see, they are shaken. And of course here you can maneuver to flank the enemies so that they can be taken down a bit faster. And they broke already. So it's imperative to cause at least some damage here, so that they are not so willing to come back later. So I think you need to take up at least 2/3, maybe 3/4, to make sure that the enemies don't come back here. And these Spanish mercenaries are routing. And then we have some slingers. And we have a victory. So as you can see, 6 units of Eastern infantry can beat a Carthaginian army that's at least twice their strength. So remember to utilize the city center.
Your soldiers have brought you a great and deserved victory. The enemy...
Okay, to tip number 3, and this is related also to the city defense. And as you can see, there is quite large Gaulish army besieging a large Roman city. And the tower mechanics in Rome Total War is that you control the towers and they will shoot as long until the enemy gets to capture them. So basically, if the enemy army stands in front of the towers, they will consistently shoot them until they can get inside and capture them. So what you should do is to, in this kind of scenario where you are badly outnumbered, I don't think it's beneficial to man the walls and take a beating from these Gaulish chosen swordsmen, but let the towers do some damage while you wait for the enemies to come inside. So there will be the same benefits as in tip 2, and now the towers will do some additional damage. So we were somewhat lucky as this siege tower went down, or is going to go down, but the enemy army is standing in front of the gates. And as you can see, the towers are consistently shooting at them, so they are taking casualties. This far, the enemy casualties are in 4%. And especially these guys trying to go around here will take casualties. And it seems this battering ram has been burned down already, but they are standing there until gates are captured. And here on the other side, the same thing is happening. So the towers at least should get 3 shots, this tower will, on these guys when they get close enough. So what the enemy must do is to wait for the whole army to get in, and it's going to happen when these guys get up and can capture the gateway. And as you can see, they are capturing the gateway now, which means that the enemy will enter the city, and then these towers near the gateway won't be shooting on enemy units anymore. So basically all the enemies will rush in, and what's nice with Roman towers, as you can see, there are these shooting holes or murder holes or whatever in the back of the towers as well. So as the enemies come in and they continue going forward, these towers will shoot them along the way. And we should see that rather soon. Okay, there. This tower is already shooting on these chosen swordsmen. And the longer route the enemy has to take, the more casualties it will receive while going this way. So all of these towers will likely get maybe 10 to 20 kills per unit if they are going this way. And likely most of the enemies would go from there to the city center. So they would take at least tens of casualties. And this of course will lower their morale. And taking this detour will make them more tired, and so on. So all of the benefits that were in the tip number 2 will be increased in this battle. So this actually is pretty bad tower here, because it's not shooting on these guys here, nor is this. But as they go here, both of these towers should start shooting them around here. And it seems arrows are starting to fly. Okay, it was shooting these. So as you can see, this is one of the units that went to the side, and it's almost completely wiped out already. So there hasn't been a single blow yet with the sword or spear, but already the enemy has taken 27% damage. And likely, before the battle is joined, this percentage will be somewhere between 30 and 40%. And this tactic is especially important in Barbarian Invasion, where you need to fight against large hordes with rather indecent garrisons. So with this kind of tactics, you might be able to beat, say, 5,000 or 6,000 enemies with an army of only about 1,000. Of course, it needs to be something else than only peasants, but this really evens the odds quite a bit. And as you can see, this seems to be heavy cavalry here, and they are taking quite heavy casualties while marching below these towers here. The fourth battle tip, or rather cheese, is about using the battle map to your advantage, and that's especially related to the game battle map. And here you can see we are at a corner. We have very great disadvantage in numbers, so there is rather large Gaulish horde approaching us. But in this kind of formation, only small fraction of the enemy army can engage us at once. And basically this also has the same elements as the city center cheese, because now the enemy army has to march towards us. So basically this is for defensive battles, unless you can provoke the enemy to attack you. So the enemy army has to march towards us, and that means they will be a bit more tired than other way around. And of course here I chose the corner that's a bit more elevated than the other corner. So this would be ideal if there were a mountain right behind us. So this would be a really steep rise for the enemy to climb. That would mean they were at least tired or exhausted, or very tired when reaching us, and that would make the battle so much more easy. But we have to do with this for now. And basically what this formation here is doing, it's messing up the AI trying to form up against us. So as you can see, some of the units here are twerping around. They are not able to move to engage, and that gives our archers, for example, more time to take down the enemies before the real battle begins. And of course in this kind of battle, when you are facing an enemy that has large numerical superiority, is to use the guard mode, so that your troops won't start chasing down fleeing enemies, because then they become a bit more vulnerable to enemy units there. But it seems the enemy is starting to get its lines organized a bit by bit, but as you can see, some casualties are starting to mount up, and at least these chosen swordsmen are already tired, and this naked fanatic unit is winded, tired, so they are not in that much of a shape to fight against us. And as you can see, the enemy is moving against us in a horde. Our flanks and rear are both secured by the limits of the map, and it might even be that our legionaries get to throw both of their pillar before the melee actually begins. So some more casualties to the enemy, and basically that means that they will break that much easier. And of course, General's bodyguard coming to the front is an additional bonus. If we can take him down, that will make breaking the rest of the enemy army quite a lot of easier. And here you can see some of the AI twerping around. So it does not know which unit should attack and which not. Okay, now they are coming. But as you can see, the enemy is unable to utilize its greater numbers as effectively as it would have been able to do if the fight were in the middle of the map. And as you can see, some of the even the stronger enemy units are already shaken or wavering. So they shouldn't last too long in this kind of battle. Of course, if we had general, I think a cavalry charge here would break the enemy. And as you can see, they are breaking already. So now that they are fleeing, I think it's nice to put some arrows to their backs, as they have no shields or armor, or rather not so good shields or armor there. But as you can see, the enemy formation is completely skewed up, and they are taking heavy casualties at the moment. And of course now, if we had that guard mode off, our legionaries would be pursuing, and the enemy infantry could circle around them and surround them rather easily. But it pays to be patient here. The enemy will make a new charge at the moment, even though most of these fleeing guys will come back for round 2. But at the moment we have caused 20% casualties, and we have suffered only 3% casualties. So the situation is quite good. And of course, when the enemy turns its back to us, I think a few volleys of arrows will be quite a decent reward, and that will make some more casualties to the enemy. And it seems light cavalry is charging. I don't think it will last too long, even against early legionaries. And they are breaking. You may need to bring the troops a bit more forward, so your formation will stay in the correct place. And of course, we should try to take down the enemy missile units. They can cause some casualties. And of course, if we can take down the enemy general, that will be great as well. But as you can see, these troops are running around here, doing nothing except tiring themselves. And this noble cavalry here is showing its backside to our troops. Maybe it's a show of contempt, but I think we can thank them with a hail of arrows. And that warbrand is breaking. Unfortunately, it didn't move out of the map.
The enemy general flees. Press forward so the spirit of his army is broken too.
There is also time when to turn off the guard mode. And usually when the enemy general dies, large chunk of the enemy army is already fleeing, or you can hope that you can rout the whole enemy army. And now, in my opinion, is a good time to push, and then you need to push with the whole army and try to cause the whole enemy army to rout. And this far, I think we are doing a decent job here. So most of the enemy army is already fleeing, and they only have a couple of more units left. And in this case, you should focus the whole army on trying to take down the enemy. And there. So, with 800 men, we were able to obtain 1600 kills, and we took only a bit over 100 men as losses. The fifth tip is related to siege battle. And this time we are on the offensive, and for this siege to work, the enemy must only have the improved wooden wall. So if the walls are stone walls, there will be towers, which practically make this strategy or siege impossible. So the basic idea here is to try to run around the enemy troops as much as possible and then inflict casualties as well. So here you can see we have our missile units ready and also our infantry that can use missiles ready, and then we just start shooting, and we can break down the enemy walls and gates at the same time, but we shouldn't not enter as long as we can hit the enemies. And here, for example, these pointy infantries would be one of our most tough opponents here. But since they are walking away from us, our archers can hit at their back, and they have taken quite a few casualties. Here you can see the slingers too, and Iberian infantry taking heavy casualties, these skirmishers taking heavy casualties. And the AI's problem here is that they just will run here and there to be shot at the same time. So this far we have inflicted a bit over 10% damage to the enemy strength. And we are not yet done. For example, the enemy general's bodyguard is coming here. So even if we cannot take down men from there, they will at least suffer some damage. And now you can see the main force of the enemy army is coming here. So we can shoot at them at our leisure. And for example here, that Iberian infantry has lost over half of its strength already. And now when these guys turn, it seems, left, I think we can have some decent shots as well. And that Iberian infantry unit is almost completely wiped out already. Enemy cavalries are incoming here.
The gods have smiled on us today. The walls are broken. Our troops.
And as you can see here, most of the enemies are already winded or tired. And we have caused 26% of damage to the enemy. And we have lost only ammunition for our own troops. So, after you have used all of your missiles and you think that you don't have enough strength to capture the city, you can rinse and repeat this. So you pull back and the enemy won't be able to replenish its troops in time for new siege, and then you can do this again, and maybe that time you will have enough strength to conquer the city. So in this situation, a smaller army can actually conquer a city, so there won't be that much of a defender's advantage here. So here are 5 tips and cheeses for Rome Total War battles. What do you think of them? Is something missing? Could we get another 5 tips and cheeses for Rome Total War? Please share your thoughts in the comments field below. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoy the content. If you do, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That will help a great deal. Have a great rest of the day. Quality Old Games out.